Welcome to the Strackhouse, a show about inspiring women making change. I'm your host, Sarah Strackhouse. Join us to hear their incredible stories. Hello all, thank you so much for joining us. I am so excited to introduce you to today's guest. She is truly a badass. Her name is Jerah Hutchins. She owns Clearing the Chamber. Thank you so much again for joining us.
I'm super excited. I was just honored when you asked me, so I couldn't wait to get here.
Well, so for those who might not know, you do so much. You know, she took me through my LTC class, my license to carry class, and you also, you're on a mission to educate women, educate people about the Second Amendment and about safe and responsible gun ownership. And I just think that is so important. Can you talk a little bit about being a firearms instructor, I guess to begin with?
Okay. I've been shooting almost my whole life, pretty much since I was 12. And then I got into firearms instructing sort of by happenstance. I had a stalker in my early 20s, and I've always known a lot about long guns, right? I grew up in the long gun game, hunting family, stuff like that. And then when that person, showed up at my house, like my only defense was my shotgun. And so I started to think to myself after that incident, what would I do if I wasn't home and I didn't have a firearm, And so I started to research what classes I needed to take. How am I supposed to learn about handguns? Can I carry a handgun on my person? And I sort of went down the pathway to firearms training from a handgun perspective and found it to be very stale. Found it to be hard and challenging. Not that it's not supposed to be challenging. I mean, it's a skill like anything else. But I didn't enjoy the process because I was being trained. There weren't a lot of female trainers at the time. And I was being trained by men who really didn't want to teach me anything. Or if they did want to teach me, they didn't really know how. They were just telling me things based on their experience or what they would do. And they're not me. Men aren't women, okay? I know in today's society, people think they are, but it's one of those things.
There's a biological difference.
There's a biological difference. And so I really felt like the more that I got into it, the more that I started to increase my skill set. And I still went down the pathway of training even though I wasn't enjoying it. Because my safety meant more to me than anything that these guys were going to throw at me. Okay. But as I got into it, my female friends started to ask me, hey, can you help me at the range? Can you teach me how to shoot a gun? And I thought to myself, there might be something to this. So I decided to create curriculum based on how women learn. And it's a completely different mindset than men, right? So the Second Amendment is one thing, but it means something different to everyone. It means something different to men. It means something different to women. It means something different to African Americans. It means something different to Muslims. It means something different. So everybody that gets the opportunity to come to America and live has the opportunity of the Second Amendment, but it means something different to them. And so we needed to create, a curriculum needed to be created for women in that regard so that they could fully understand the entire projection, the entire scope of the Second Amendment, so that they could use it not only to its fullest potential, but so that they knew how to speak intelligently about it going forward and how to teach their kids about this going forward, how to have consistent messages in their marriages and in their homes.
Well, and that was something that I found was so incredible about your class was that, I've been kind of wanting to get my concealed handgun license or my, license to carry for years now. And, I'm getting to the point where my husband and my family, we're planning to grow and we're just, I want to protect myself, my own, and I want to do it in a responsible way. And I guess what I initially thought the class would be okay, here's how you shoot, and there was plenty of that, but it was also, I loved that basically you taught us so much about what the Second Amendment truly is, and all of the gun laws, the gun safety, and all of the ways to de-escalate a situation before you even have to draw your gun. And to be honest, I was not expecting that. I didn't know exactly what to expect, but I was not expecting that. And I think that is so important. And I think it's something that people also don't realize. A lot of people who are against gun ownership or against, want things to change. And maybe there should be changes here or there, but I think a lot of people don't really understand all that goes into getting your license, because it was a process.
They really don't, Sarah. And I think that a really interesting statistic that we need to pay attention to is that here in Texas, where we live, only 4% of the Texas population has a license to carry, but gun ownership is much higher. So you have a large percentage of the gun-owning Texas population that doesn't really understand the law and that doesn't really understand these de-escalation tactics that the license to carry class teaches you.
Yeah.
And so what we have here is, I almost wonder if they shouldn't just change the name
right.
of the class, because when you think license to carry, you're thinking this is just a gun, this is just a class that teaches me how to carry a gun on my person. But they don't understand that you don't have to be licensed to have a gun in your home or even in your vehicle.
Right.
They don't understand that. And then those very few people that do, they don't really understand the laws that surround their ability to be able to use deadly force in a situation of duress. They have no idea what the aftermath is. All they see is what Hollywood presents to them and how this works. They see shoot the tires, which ballistically does not work. Okay, understand that.
Yeah.
And they see people shooting someone in a situation of duress in their home and not being arrested for it and not having to justify that use of deadly force. So they don't understand how this actually works. And so the more people that have this education, the better. I even have anti-gun people that take the classroom portion of the license to carry, and I think that's great.
Yes.
Because they're being logical about the fact that I need to understand and educate myself on what other people are legally allowed to do with their gun, so that I can just remove myself from a situation that makes me uncomfortable versus arguing with someone who's doing something completely legal.
And I respect that. Your comfortability, everyone's comfortability changes. I think that over time, ideally, I'd love to, be able to carry my gun. But at this point, I don't feel like I'm strong enough in my knowledge and comfortability actually carrying my gun. But I know that, if people will get there, and I think that that's so cool that people are taking your class who are kind of just wanting to learn about it, because the educational part is so important. And I know you have, can you talk a little bit about Wade for Women? Because I know this is more than, just a company for you. It's more a passion project or a mission.
So I started Wade for Women. Wade is the Women's Awareness and Defense Endeavor. And I started it when I kind of at the same time that I started clearing the chamber, which was late 2017, early 2018, because as I guided people through these classes and as I was marketing my business, I had a number of women that would say, I would love to get that kind of training, but I can't afford it. And so I started to think to myself, that's not fair, number one. The Second Amendment isn't just for people who can afford it, but it's kind of been marketed that way in the past. And I think that much like the social climate that we're seeing right now with systemic racism, that I think that we can directly correlate that to the Second Amendment, right? So we have a number of people that are arguing that, gun laws are racist, right? They're inherently racist because they've always been oppressing people of color with gun laws, right? All throughout our history, they disarmed the African American population. They disarmed the Native American population, right? The Battle of Wounded Knee is a prime example of that. And what I'm not saying is that we have a huge racism problem right now. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is because of our history and because it hasn't really been taught the correct way in our schools, we have minority communities like Latino and Latina communities. We have minority communities like African American communities that don't understand how important the Second Amendment is to their communities as well, okay? And so we have So that lack of education, I mean, that's how we power people through.
Yeah.
And that's how we grant people opportunities, is by educating them. And if they don't get that knowledge, they're never going to understand what lies before them and what they can do. And so
And the
these
repercussions,
women,
like you said
and the
before.
repercussions and the consequences. And so when I started Wade for Women, it was because I really wanted to provide this kind of education to, in my opinion, the people that needed it the most. And those people are single moms and low-income women that don't understand, A, what they're capable of, B, what they can do, and they can't afford education. And so the first round of fundraising we did was super successful. And I ran some really, really cool women through the program. There were 2 African American women and a Muslim woman. And the Muslim woman was probably, I had to say I'm the most proud of her, because she actually found out, and this is so sad, but she found out that her husband was molesting their daughter.
Oh my God.
So it was actually her daughter from a previous marriage in their home. And when the young lady had enough courage to actually go to her mother with it, and you have to understand, in the Muslim culture, women are not esteemed. Okay, and so you don't question your husband, you don't question authority. But I think that all women can agree that when it comes to your kids, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yes.
And so she had him removed from the home. She called the police, had him removed from the home. She went into a mom's group on Facebook and did something that I think requires so much guts. And she posted what happened in her family, because she said, I bought a gun with the last bit of money that I have. And I need to know how to use it. And I need somebody that's going to train me. And I had a lot of clients, a lot of female clients in that mom's group. And they all tagged me and said, can you help this woman? And I just kind of volunteered my time. I bought her ammo. She already had the gun. Obviously, I'm not going to go buy people guns, okay?
Right.
But I bought her ammo. I paid her range fees, and that kind of sparked, Wade. And she became one of my ambassadors. She's doing really well right now. But she had to protect herself, because due process states that, he could get out on bail. They have to build a case against him. Like, we just can't take somebody's word that this is happening, right? So she's got to be able to defend her children and herself and her home in the in-between. And that's what's really important, because restraining orders and things like that, they're pieces of paper. They don't shield you. They don't put a force field around you that just, that thwarts bad people. That's not what happens, okay? And so she was such a great lesson. I ran her through 3 or 4 lessons. She's still with me today. And she's, they've moved forward with the case. And so that's what Wade is about, because the people, single moms and low-income women, are the people who are the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest victims of abuse. They need this education so badly.
And that empowerment, that feeling like that you have some self-control over your defense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then sweet Donita, that came through my Wade program, she just contacted me literally on the way here. She was thinking that this was, going to be live.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
She wanted to watch it and everything. And she was like, I really want to get my instructor certification, because I want to go out into the African American community. That's her community. And she was like, we need more of this education. She said, it's silly that we're not taking advantage of the Second Amendment. It's silly with everything that's going on right now that we're not educating ourselves. And it's really a lot about mindset too. We have to educate that mindset, okay? We can't just shoot people because we want to. It has to be a last resort. And she's really wanting to take the bull by the horns, so to speak, and get out into the African American community, especially the African American female community, and get that education out there.
Well, and something I know that we've talked about, I mean, I think that's so important what you're doing. Something we've talked about is kind of the threat to the Second Amendment. What are some of those threats, and what is something you really want people to hear who might be threatening that Second Amendment?
The biggest threat to the Second Amendment is twofold, in my opinion. It's lack of education, number one, and it's people who want to remain in power. So I'm big on term limits. Okay, I think that if we had term limits, it would solve a lot of problems. Because people would need to be power hungry. This would be a temporary thing for them, and their focus would be doing as much good as they possibly could in relation to their platforms and the things that they believe in while they're in office. And so And then we have this huge lack of education. So I had the really cool opportunity to testify in the gun rights hearings at Brookhaven College last October. Now, Pancho Navarez, who's one of our House representatives, was also at that particular hearing, sitting in a position of authority on the panel. So the month prior to that, he had gotten busted for possession of cocaine at the Austin airport. And I did not find out about that until later. And I wrote a really scathing article about him in Gun News Daily about that, because he never should have been sitting there in a position of authority.
Right.
But he's very anti-gun. He was very argumentative with people who were pro-gun during that hearing. And it was really sad to see. But the thing that I got the most out of that hearing was the just ridiculous lack of education that our leaders, that our elected leadership has when it comes to firearms and the Second Amendment. Even those who say they're pro-gun, they don't know about guns.
Right.
They don't understand the ins and outs of it. They have no idea about the anatomy of a firearm.
Yeah.
They have no idea about the laws that surround your ability to carry a firearm. They're just, all they're doing is getting this political pressure from people who are saying guns are bad, okay? And it's not about guns being bad. Guns are just a tool.
Right.
Somebody has to make a decision to use that tool for
Right.
good or evil. It's like anything else.
Yeah.
A wrench can kill somebody. A screwdriver can kill somebody.
Yep.
A knife can kill somebody.
I mean, a truck. Think about all the times that
Yeah.
it's happened, overseas. Bastille Day in France. I mean,
100%. So we have to really start educating people on this mindset. And in my opinion, I think that we need to bring gun safety back into schools.
Yeah.
I think that we need to catch these kids early, but we need to really be careful on how we word this, because we need to say, this is your choice. You do not have to be about the gun life, but you do need to understand that this is a right that you have under the Constitution that is also endowed to you by your Creator, and you get to choose. Your defense is your decision all the time, no matter what. And you can choose not to have it, or you can choose to have it, but we have to give people the choice, and we can't wait until these people are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s.
Right.
I mean, my intro to handgun class that I had last night, I had 5 women that were in their 70s that had never exercised this right before. But if we're going to have it, it does have weight and responsibility. And just because it's your right doesn't mean that it doesn't carry weight.
Well, I think that's so important. What you're touching on is starting it early and starting it young. I mean, I know we talked before about trafficking. I mean, that is such a prevalent problem, especially, and I just actually had another woman talking about it, Rania Mancarius. She's the CEO of Crime Stoppers Houston, and she said that there's so many conversations that surround trafficking. You don't think it's going to happen to you, but being aware and being taught at a young age some of these problems and what to look out for is so important. What are your thoughts on that, and kind of what the public thinks or knows in terms of trafficking?
Boy.
Loaded question, I know.
I have a lot of thoughts about human trafficking. So this is a conversation that is very tough to have with women, because we have a lot of preconceived notions about our own defense and what we can do, right? So we say things like, don't poke the mama bear, don't mess with my kids, I'm the mom, I'll get you. We say things like that, but the question that I pose to women in my classes when they come to my introduction to handgun class, or when they come to my license to carry class, I ask them, do you really think that you are physically able to protect your children? Do you really think you can get it done? Because I promise you, as it stands right now, the answer is no. You have
that gave me chills.
You see,
Yeah.
You have no physical training. You have no hands-on self-defense training. I promise you, you're not going to make it. Okay, 9 times out of 10, you are not going to make it. And so we are not predispositioned, right, throughout history, throughout society, in our physical forms. We're not predispositioned to be protectors, right? We're predispositioned to be nurturers, okay? We have to flip that script on that a little bit, right? And we have to kind of force ourselves a little bit to admit our own shortcomings in that regard.
And get educated.
And they're not our fault.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily our fault. But here's the societal shift has been really interesting to watch over the last sort of 7 to 10 years that I've been teaching guns, because men are really starting to get it through their thick heads that they can't be with us all the time. And so this huge societal shift of these husbands that are calling me going, my wife needs gun training.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, if we're going to layer it on top of that, they're saying my wife needs gun training, not from me.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to get frustrated with her.
Right.
Because you want to know why? Because their skill set is usually here, and they're having to come back down, right? And they're having to go back to the bare bones fundamentals, and it's frustrating for them because they're understanding why you don't get it. They're not understanding why you don't get it.
Well, and I know a big part of when we were going through, because my husband went through with us, your teaching me was very different than how you were teaching him, because you were teaching me like a woman, like, handling my gun and what I need to do with my shoulder, or versus what he needs to do. He's built, he's very different size than I am. And the way you were teaching me, and it was so important. I think that most people, I had no idea. I wouldn't have thought about that at all. I would have just been like, okay, you shoot the same way. Like, why would it be different for him or me? And I think
our
that was
anatomical differences require us to do this a different way. It may look the same, but we learn it a different way, right? Women want to, men want to just get out there and do it, right? For the most part, men want to just get out there and do it, right? They're like, no fear, okay?
Right.
Women are like, I need instructions.
Yeah.
Okay, I want you
give me direction.
Step by step. I want to understand everything, right?
Yes.
Because we don't want to get hurt. We don't want our kids to get hurt,
and I think
right?
it's
We're like the
good
safety
to respect
people.
the gun, and I think it's good to respect that. Yeah, but
so when we talk about moms and when we talk about human trafficking, this is where we have to begin the conversation. Like, we have to literally strip it down to its barest form and go, do you really think you can do it? And you have to admit that you can't. And you have to build a foundation
that's hard.
Of training, and you have to move up from it, okay? And so what this does is it actually builds better marriages, because we are taking our messages, right? Because most of the time dads are like, yeah, guns, right? And teach the kids and this stuff. And moms are like, what?
Yeah.
There's bullets that come out of that. What are you talking about? Teach the kids. You know what I'm saying? But we have to do it and we have to have consistent messages in the home when it comes to our kids. So let's take that into a human trafficking scenario, because I would be interested to know the statistics, and I have my own theories on it. But I would be interested to know the statistics on how many kids have been snatched up and human trafficked from their fathers.
That's interesting. I bet not nearly as many.
Because I don't think it's very many at all.
Yeah.
So we have to take moms. We have to have these really real conversations.
Hard conversations.
Okay, hard, difficult, tear-jerking conversations, because the dads are not the target. The dads are not the target. The moms. It's the moms. And they are banking on the fact that you are not armed. They are banking on the fact that you don't know what you're doing. They are banking on the fact that you are going to freeze, and you are the soft target that they are praying for.
And it's so interesting that you're saying that. We actually did a story when I was in West Texas about profiling. There were, we went out to a bunch of prisons and actually got surveys of what they're looking for in a target. One was obviously women over men. 9 times out of 10. Another one was, how you hold yourself. Are you standing up straight? Are you looking down? Are you hunched over? Like all these little indicators of
eye contact.
Eye contact. Do you walk up to someone with purpose, or you kind of meander over looking down?
Because if you do this, there's a better chance that you're going to remember what they look like,
and that you're prepared for whatever's coming at you. And there's so many indicators that I was just like, oh my God, I would never think of these things. A police officer here in Plano, I was going to get just blood drawn, and a police officer, we just got into a conversation. It was when I was a reporter for a station here in Dallas, and we were just talking about that same thing, and he's like, you walked over and you beelined and you walked over and shook my hand, and he's like, I wouldn't attack you for that reason. I'd attack someone to the left or right of you. And it was very interesting, that conversation. I think that's something that so many women need to hear. So I'm so happy you're here talking about this, because even myself, I think I'm fit. I'm athletic. I've been athletic all my life, but if it came to me and someone sized like my husband, he's 6'5", he was a linebacker, I would love to think that I'd be able to take him down, but I probably would not.
It's mostly about situational awareness more than anything. And when you're a mom and you're distracted by your children, it's
juggling a ton of things.
Juggling a ton of things. So a lot of people think, okay, well, I'm going to go get this license and I'm going to carry this gun on me, and it makes them feel better. It makes them feel like they're more prepared. But what does your time management look like? How do you plan your day?
Yeah.
When you pick out your outfit, do you pick out your outfit the night before, or do you get up early and do it, right? And so my time management, in a summary is, I either pick out my clothes the night before or the next day, depending on what I'm doing, right? Because I have my day planned out, where I'm going, what I'm doing. Can I carry at these places? Can I carry at those? Can I not carry here, right? What alternate weapons am I going to have in places that I can't have my gun? Am I going to carry my knife? Am I going to carry my pepper gel gun, right? Where am I going to stick all that stuff, right? Depending on what outfit I'm wearing. So for instance, in this outfit right now, I'm carrying back here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would never know that. You look so cute. I don't know if you can see her yet.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I can even show you guys.
Yeah.
Like I'm carrying just right there.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I can't carry in the front because my shirt's tucked in.
Right. It's a cute look.
I'm carrying back. Now look, it's less than ideal for me. Like I don't really want to do that, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And so we have to plan out our day. Our time management has to be such that it gives us opportunities to be aware, especially when we have children. And these are conversations that you have to have with your kids when they're little. So if your situational awareness is on point, you will avoid 90% of the situations of duress you could face.
And if people want to learn more about this, because everything you've just said, I feel like it's just most people might not think about. You know what I mean? Like you're so focused on your day, you're not thinking about time management, or you're not thinking about, oh my gosh, I just need to put him in the car and I just need to get there. I just need to do, can someone contact you, take your classes? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can get in touch with me on Instagram at Clearing the Chamber, Facebook at Clearing the Chamber, my email address at clearingthechamber@gmail.com. I sit, that's the first 2 hours of my morning is going through emails, answering questions. People contact me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Parler, my email address. I'm returning text messages because people have, these questions. And then, if I get the same question consistently, I do, a video about it.
I love the way you talk about this because you're passionate and you're mission driven and you're trying to help people and educate people, especially women. Why are you so passionate about it?
I think that your young life can certainly determine your future, and things that you experience at a young age that you think about when you have a little bit more maturity later on can really kind of change your path. So this is like my third career. Right. I've had, I was in oil and gas. I was a headhunter for a little bit. And when I figured out that women were an incredibly underserved market in the realm of defense, I wanted to change that because I don't want women to experience the things that I've experienced. I don't want women to have no clue what to do if they have a stalker. I was a rape victim as a teenager. I don't want women to do that. We got a horrible human trafficking problem right now. And I'm getting into that game too. So I'm going to be working on human trafficking extraction teams. I'm going to be kicking in doors and saving babies. And that's
amazing.
I can't wait. Yeah. Okay, because that's what we have to do. We can't just raise money and buy them back and continue to influx cash into the human trafficking problem that we have. We've got to go in and we have to physically get these kids out. Okay, that's the end game for me. That's my mission, is to create a society of women who can actually physically protect themselves and their kids, and it be a thing that they can do. I want to teach so many women how to shoot guns and how to defend themselves that it's not cool anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want it. I don't like it when people go, "Oh man, that chick can shoot. That's super cool."
Yeah.
I just want it
to
be
normal.
Commonplace.
Yeah.
I just want it to be commonplace that the people of the United States of America take advantage of their Second Amendment rights, and we actually take it seriously, and we go through the education, and we carve out time in our calendars to train, and we have consistent messages in our homes.
I love that. I love that. Before we run out of time, if you wouldn't mind looking at the camera, and if someone is watching this, everything goes over their head. You want them to take one thing away. What is it?
I hope that out of this entire conversation, the one thing that you will get out of it is that there are no safe places, only safe people. Your neighborhood is not safe, the grocery store is not safe, your workplace is not safe. Only the people within the premise of those places are safe, and one unsavory character can change the dynamic of an environment in seconds. So keep your head on a swivel. Paranoia, no. Preparedness, yes.
I love that. I've got like goosebumps like 4 times. Well, Jerah, one more time where people can find out more about you, where people can get a hold of you if they want to help out with Wade, anything. What's the best way?
Sure. You can follow Wade for Women on Instagram at WADEFOR Women, Wade for Women. Also on Facebook, same thing. Once again, I'm on Instagram at Clearing the Chamber. I'm on Facebook at Clearing the Chamber. And my email address is clearingthechamber@gmail.com.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I love this conversation. I feel like I can talk to you for hours. But I appreciate you coming on, and I thank Amy Robbins for connecting us.
Gosh, I love her. Oh, that's another
she's
thing.
great.
AlexoAthletica.com.
Yes.
Alexo, ALEXO, Athletica.com. You definitely want to check that out. She has a really, really awesome concealed carry activewear line for women, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. So get in on that for sure.
Yes, I'm obsessed with their pants. They cover you and hide things in all the
Hold
right
you
places.
in.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
lift
they're
the
just
booty,
like-
all the good stuff.
All the good stuff.
I
So
want
you
the
can
skirt.
look
Yeah.
good
Yes.
and be lethal.
Yes,
right?
there you go. Best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds.
All right, well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you all so much for joining us. Of course, we will be here next week, 6 p.m. You can find this on all your streaming platforms, audio, as well as Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And all of her information will also be in the captions so that you guys can find out all the information there. And if you have any questions, you can leave a comment or you can message me if you missed any of this and you want to get a hold of her. Make sure to put you in touch. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.
If you'd like to nominate an inspiring woman, email me at sarahstrackhouse@gmail.com. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.